Hi guys, and welcome to Avalanche's FFVII playthrough. We're going to take a bit of break from the main story now after the fourth part, the Corel area, has been completed, and then we're going to do a couple of bits of side questing. First of all, we're going to look at gathering some new enemy skills.
Now we're ready to clear this area and move on to the next part of the continent, the Gongagar region. If you look on the map, it's just south of this little river here that we can cross. But before we go there, we're actually going to complete one of our side quests. Now, we haven't been using our enemy skill materia, and there's quite a few enemy skills we've missed up to now. But now we've got the buggy, we can collect them all rather quickly. So what I've done is I've deliberately waited until now to collect the enemy skill materia. So the first step is to go back into Corel Prison, and we're going to collect 2 enemy skills, the first 2 for both of our materias. So we just need to drive back in, through the buggy, and you just drive straight into the prison like so. So for the first couple of enemy skills we're going to be regaining, you need to come back into the Corel Prison. Now, I'm very lucky that actually I've managed to fight both of the enemies we require, which is the Deathclaw and the Bull Motor. Now, the Deathclaw will cast a spell called Laser on you, which will enable your characters to have their HP decreased by half. As you can see, they've already cast it twice on Cloud. As soon as they cast it on Cloud, he then learns it. And then Materia Magic, as we've just been cast there. So I've learned Materia Magic on one of my characters. Obviously, Cloud was dead when they cast it, so I need to recast it again. And Laser on one of the characters. So I'm going to cast Grenade Bomb now to try and take out one of the Deathclaws, and that way we shouldn't die as quickly. There we go. So now everyone will have learned Materia Magic now. So now all we need to do now is learn Laser on the other character. So we're going to take out the Bull Motor at the back. You can also try and steal off them if you want as well. I mean, they don't carry particularly good items, but whilst we're waiting, in a sense, we're not going to be casting any sort of powerful spells on them, so we can just wait until the guy casts Laser again. One of the advantages as well of the Materia Magic one is that he casts it on everyone, so you don't have to worry about when he'll use it. Now, that Platinum Bangle was something that we had a chance to get a while ago. It's not really a useful item because it's an item which, whilst it gives you double materia growth, only has 2 slots. So it's the kind of thing which isn't that useful. And the Deathclaws don't carry any items anyway. So now all we're doing is we're waiting for him to cast the enemy skill again on us. Just as a heads up there, if you do cast it on yourself, you don't learn it. Just thought I'd show that for you. So it is just a waiting game until he does cast it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade out now until he casts it again. So here we are, we've got into another battle with Deathclaw, but this time I want to make sure that I don't sort of fail. So I've brought along a materia called Manipulate. Now, in essence, what this does is it allows you to control an enemy, as I've just done there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to forcibly cast Laser on Barrett, which will then enable him to learn it. So I'm going to cast Laser on Barrett. So now I'll have learned all the materials, all of the enemy skills I can in this area. I'm just going to wait for him to cast Laser, and then I'll cast Grenade Bomb. There we go. And now we've learned everything that we can do in this area of the game. Now we've collected our first 2 enemy skills materia, we're just outside here. We need to get back onto the boat. So if you want to, you can do a little bit of training around here. There's some good enemies to fight, which give you pretty good experience. But the next target is to come back here to Costa del Sol and drive into the town on your buggy. And then what you need to do is go through the town and towards the ship. So if you guys remember which way to go, you need to go up here and then back on yourselves. Now the ship that we came on through Sephiroth, now when we try and go on it, nothing crazy happens. So you pay him 100 gil and he can take you across the ship. Now don't worry, when you get on the ship you don't have any battles to face, it just takes you straight across. But now it means that we have actually got our buggy on the other side, on the other continent, on the Junnan continent. So we're able to do a few more things now and collect a few more enemy skill materias, which, collect a few more enemy skills, which I spoke about briefly before. So here we are crossing the continent, across the water to Junnan. When you get to Junnan, you'll drive straight out in your buggy. I love it how there's no dock there, yet it's going to reverse into a big cannon. So now when you come out here, you're actually in the main upper town of Junnan. Now, you've got to get out of Junnan, and the only way to do it is to utilise an elevator. So, you know, you can go back through all the shops if you want, but there's nothing really to report on. If you go to this shop here, the guy still hasn't ordered anything. This shop actually will get some new items in Disc 2, as will a few of the shops around here. Because essentially what happens is the guy remembers to order them by the time you get to Disc 2. So what we're looking to do is to go all the way through Junnan, back to where we got changed. So now you're back in the area where you get changed. All you do is you go down this area here, which takes you into a lift. Now, if you go in this lift, it will take you back down to Lower Junnan, where the House of Priscilla was. If you want to come back up here, you've got to pay 10 gil. So it will actually cost you 110 gil to go back the other way. But, you know, it's 110 gil, which isn't a lot of money. You make that from one fight. So when we come out of here, we'll have access to our buggy. If you want to go and see Priscilla as well, you can have a go up there and have a quick chat with her. Nothing happens, so it's just a basic FMV sequence. So here we are now with our buggy. So we can explore all over here before, which we previously couldn't do with the rivers. So if you go up here, you'll notice that there's a... I'll just fade out this battle. So as you can see, this river we wouldn't have been able to cross beforehand. And when we cross it, we don't get access to much new stuff other than a little cave here. So if we disembark here and go into this little cave, it's just called an old man's house. And what you need to do is you need to speak to the guy. You've escaped 7 times. Okay. What you need him to do is you need him to tell you how many battles you've fought. So, okay. He does have a set of phrases. You just go in and out and it'll tell you. Clearly I'm not having much luck. Yeah, he doesn't want to tell me about how many battles I've had yet. Once he's told you how many battles that you've had, if the last 2 numbers are the same, then he'll give you a key item called Mithril. And that allows you to get an item at the weapon seller's house, which we haven't yet been to. So we've already fought 143 times. So those last 2 numbers are not the same. So we need to make the last 2 numbers the same. So obviously we only need 1 fight here. So we just need to get into a fight. I'll skip the fight, don't worry. Then once we've got into a fight, just finish go back now. So we've had 144 fights. So now he wakes up. And you get a bolt ring. So the reason why we've got a bolt ring when the 2 numbers were the same is because they're 2 even numbers. If they are 2 odd numbers, he will give us an item called Mithril, which is a key item. So he's given us a bolt ring. It's actually quite a good item to be given because it completely nullifies lightning attacks. A bit like the firing that we were given. So now what we're going to do is get into 11 more fights, a bit of grinding, and then we're going to come back and see.
Now, we've already fought around here a lot of times. In this area, there's also a monster we can fight to get another enemy skill called the Zemzalet. You'll find them a lot around sort of the Fort Condor area, or in this area near the Old Man's Cave. Now, the Zemzalet, they're quite easy to make out, and they're really common to find. You can find them actually paired with these 2 enemies here. I'll just quickly dispose of this by casting Remove. You can find with these 2 Nero Smurfs with the little Harrier jump jet type enemy, or you can find with the Zemzalets, like a big cuddly white bear. Just playing
this video, tried to show you what
Blue looks like, which is our strongest summon. It's an electric based summon. At the moment I've killed 151 sort of sets of enemies, or I've had 151 battles. So after this I'll need to do 3 more before I've got to 155 and I can get the secret item Mithril. But whilst I'm doing that I might as well try and get some extra stuff, such as a new enemy skill.
The enemy skill we're going to be learning, White Wind, is a defensive enemy skill. So it's one that you can't learn without manipulate. So if you're wondering why along the way here, why didn't we learn it? Same with like Flamethrower, for instance. It's because you physically can't learn this until you get the manipulate materia from Kate Sith, or buy it later on when the shops sell it. So once you get into a battle with a Zemzlet, you have to manipulate it and then have it cast White Wind on you. So if we go in and speak to the guy, we'll find out that we've got 155 battles, and he gives us the Mithril. Now that's happened because we've got an odd number of items, an odd number of battles, sorry. So now when you go into your key items, you'll have Mithril, and it just says might be of some help to you. That's all we need to do for the time being. We're not going to use that for a short while, but that will allow us to get access to one of the ultimate limit breaks in the game. Now, it is also possible to come back here later on and get more pieces of Mithril, providing the last two numbers of your battles that you fought are odd and the same. Because once you've used the Mithril, you can then go back and get another piece of Mithril because you have more than one item to select from. Just as a little heads up to you. Now, it's coincidental that whilst we're in this area, it's also important for us to fight a monster called a Zemzlet, because this will allow us to learn a new enemy skill material, a new enemy skill. We've already learned two, laser and materia magic, and now we're about to learn a third one. But you see, this one is a defensive enemy skill. So in order for us to learn it, we need to have the manipulate materia, and it's White Wind. What it does is it heals all the allies, but also refreshes all the status ailments. So we've used it, and both Barrett and Cloud will have learnt it. So now we can just kill the Zemzlet. Now, you know, whilst we're over here, we might as well fight the Zemzlet. The reason why we didn't learn it on the way through here is because it's a defensive enemy skill. He won't cast it on us, so we have to manipulate him in order to learn it. So now that we've got both the Mithril and the Zemzlet, it's time to go on towards the next bit we're looking to complete. And the next enemy skill we're going to be learning is called Flamethrower. Now we have a chance to learn that much later on in the game, or learn it here. I'm just going to learn it here for completeness sake. Now, when we go back into the Mithril Mine here and learn Flamethrower, we can actually continue a bit further and learn another enemy skill from the Midgar. And this was an optional boss that we passed earlier. It's not really a boss because it respawns. But the reason why I'm not going to learn it is because the enemy skill is sort of a double-edged sword. It's a really strong fire-based attack. Now, we have really strong fire-based attacks already, such as Ifrit and other things. But the other reason why I don't want to learn it is because it can actually kill us quite quickly. So it's a risky battle. It's one that we could potentially lose. Now, whilst we're in Mithril Mine, we're able to get our next enemy skill from a monster that looks a bit like a flying moth, the enemy skill Flamethrower. The flying moth appears on its own, usually with a few snakes sometimes. I mean, here's an example here where there's two of them. So, remember, we don't have to worry about whether he attacks us. Coincidentally here, he has actually attacked one of the characters that needs it. So all we need to do now is get Cloud to learn it, and then we're sorted. So I'm just going to manually attack one of them to try and take it out as quickly as possible. You'll notice that Yuffie there doesn't take any damage from it because she's wearing the fire ring, which makes her immune. So now I'm just going to defend now until he attacks Cloud. And if he doesn't attack Cloud soon, I'll use Manipulate. So I'll use Manipulate now. And that way, once he's manipulated, we'll force him to attack Cloud. So Manipulate, and then we're going to cast Flamethrower on Cloud. And that will then enable Cloud to have learned it as well. There we go. So now we can finish him off. There we go. So that's the next sort of little side quest, you know, building up our enemy skill materials. So when we get back outside on the world map, we're actually looking to go back across the ship again over towards the gold saucer area. So you might think, well, why have we come back here just to go all the way there? The reason why we've done it in this order is so in the small time we've been fighting these battles, such as against the Zemzlets here, etc., we'll have been slowly building up our enemies killed statistic. Remember that learning new levels of limit break is determined by how many enemies you killed, not how strong they are. So if you kill a group of 5 enemies that are all really weak, that will help you learn new limit breaks. Now obviously Cloud and Barrett have a slight advantage over Yuffie here in that they've been in the party longer. So both Cloud and Barrett are already on their level 2 limits. Yuffie hasn't yet killed 80 individual enemies. So if you're looking for a way to improve that statistic quickly, equipping a summon materia that's really strong and taking out a group of weak enemies in one hit makes the battle really quick. So what we're looking to do now is get our next couple of enemy skill materias, which are going to be some more defensive ones. But in order to do that, we need to go back over to the gold saucer area. So I'm going to fade out now until I get back to the gold saucer area. Everyone knows what to do to get back there. We need to go back up, paying this guy 10 gil. And then once we've gone there, we need to go all the way down to the dock through Junham, which is a long walk. So obviously I'm not going to show you that. Then once we're on the boat, we'll appear back out the Costa del Sol. So we've just gone into the boat at the Junham Harbour. All you've got to do is just walk straight onto the boat, and as soon as you walk straight onto the boat, it cuts out and takes you across on the cargo ship towards Costa del Sol. Now once we get out of here, there's a couple more enemy skills to find. But we've got to find them in a specific order. Essentially, the second enemy skill we're looking to find here is one of the few times you'll find a water-based attack in Final Fantasy VII. Now, it's a really strong water-based attack which attacks all enemies. The downside to it at the moment is that any enemy which casts it on you will have such a high base damage that it could nearly kill you. So the first thing we need to do is actually learn an enemy skill which allows us to cast two defensive spells, Barrier and Magic Barrier. Now, these are standard materia spells, but the actual materia to cast them isn't found until much later on in the game. So this enemy skill actually allows you to cast magic. It's just an enemy skill which casts 2 or 3 magic spells simultaneously. But all of these magic spells you won't yet have found. So that's the reason why it's such a sort of valuable piece of materia, if you like. So the first thing we need to do is get ourselves back in the buggy once we're over at the Costa del Sol region. I actually find it easy to get out and walk along the beach area. Make sure you're on the full beach area, the brown area, because then the battle scene will appear beach-like, such as this. So here we are, we're encountering them, and there's 4 of them, so you know we're not going to struggle. They always appear together, usually in quite big quantities. So none of them have anything to steal, so I'm just showing you there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate one of them, and then I'll get Yuffie or someone to cast some materia to kill them all really quickly. So there we are, we've manipulated one of the beach plugs. I'll attack the other ones just to make sure I'm doing something. So Big Guard is the spell we're looking for, and you just need to cast it on all your allies. Now this is like I said, it's one of the most useful enemy skills in the game, if not the most useful enemy skill in the game. What it does is it simultaneously casts 3 spells on you. It casts Barrier, Magic Barrier and Haste. So Barrier and Magic Barrier are defensive spells, one of which reduces the damage that you take by half physically, and the other one reduces the magic damage that you take by half physically. Haste is obviously a spell which makes your time gauge, or ATB gauge, grow 30% quicker. So it casts all those spells simultaneously for less than the cost it would have cost to cast those 3 spells in canon. It also casts them all in one go, so it only takes you one go to get all 3 barriers up, if you like. And this sort of strategy now of using Big Guard will be commonplace in every single battle that we now fight against strong bosses or enemies we think we're going to struggle against. So it's going to be sort of like your bread and butter now. Now I'm going to use a tent quickly, because the next enemy we're going to fight is quite a tough one. This is the one who gives us the water spell called Aqualung. Now we find it actually in the quicksand area outside the Corel Prison, so I'm just going to fade out until we get there. So here we are, we've encountered the enemy called Harpy. They usually only occur in sort of on their own. So remember, Big Guard's got to get that up straight away, and also cast Sense just so you know how much life you have in case you don't accidentally kill him. So I'm going to try and steal the item that he's carrying as well, because it's always a good thing to do. Now, Harpies cannot be manipulated, but you don't need to worry, because the spell we're looking for, Aqualung, he will cast, here it is, and it is a spell which will attack every single person. So there, it's done 300 damage with barriers. So that would have done a lot more damage. And it's put 2 of our characters straight onto limit breaks. So I'm not going to wait and try and steal the item off him. I'm just going to get there, get him killed, and get out of the battle as soon as possible. So I've cast Shiva here, and then I'm going to cast Blade Beam. On your game, Harpies have just under 1,000 hit points. Mine has just over 1,000, so that little bit extra shouldn't make too much of a difference. But, he's down to about 650 life now, and I've got 2 limit breaks coming up. So, there we go. Yeah, that's killed him. And that's the next part we were looking for. So that's sort of, in essence, the main thing we're going to be doing. Just you know, occasionally taking a break from the storyline, it just makes a welcome break to occasionally explore and get some.
Okay, and cheers guys for watching. That's the first part of the side questing aspect of Final Fantasy VII walkthrough by Avalanche. We've completed that and we've got a few enemy skills. In the next portion we're going to do a little bit more side questing, including visiting an optional village.